Hi everyone. Right. So I have a couple of announcements. This is my video on the recent intelligence report that came out from Warlord Games, and at the same time, it's sort of a response to Scholar Progenium and Johnny over there. Johnny and me were going to do a collab on today's Intel report release. Unfortunately, Johnny isn't really well, so that sort of the plan for today collapsed. I had gotten a hold of Aaron from Australia, who I wanted to bring in. So we had like three players sitting down discussing the intelligence release. Un- Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Although I am releasing a couple of videos that I've done with Aaron. Potentially, we will do that later down the road once we get to maybe next week or the week after. But right now, I promised Johnny that I would give you my response to what's happening with the latest intelligence report. So let's go. By the way, link for Johnny's video on this is in the description, as is the link to Warlord Games, the intelligence report. Here we go. So this is the latest intelligence report, Bold Action 3rd edition, troop quality and morale. Now, funny thing, a lot of what's actually new here is not about morale at all. So, for me, there's a few things that stick out immediately that they're not going to change up the troop quality. So regulars will still die on a 4+, veterans will still die on a 5+, and inexperienced will die on a 3+. They also keep the morale of 8, 9, and 10. So all of that is the same as version 2, and I like that. It didn't need changing. It works. It means that there is a reason to take veterans and inexperienced. Regulars is a little bit of a problem. But that can be fixed with point settings and all kinds of other stuff. So for me, keeping that part of the game really works well. It also connects nicely to version 2, so that people are not like massively overworked and trying to figure out what's going on with version 3. One thing that there is here, and where is it? They changed quite a few bits. They write that here. One thing we did do, however, is change quite a few bits around the core, and that's what today's article is about. There's a notable change to Bold Action 6 orders, an update on officer teams, and a careful look at the edge of the table. Right. So, the first one, Rally. Rally is going to be much more effective in version 3, because Rally, if you roll without your pins, and you make your moral test, you remove all the pins. So for me, that means that 1, 2, maybe even 3 pins is good. More than that, definitely not needed. Because if you're piling on more pins than that, there's no reason for it, right? That player will absolutely rally no matter what you're doing from that point on. So that puts up a very hard cap on how many pins I'm going to try and put on units, because there's no reason to do that. And yeah, they keep the thing with here. Let's just point that out here, right? Pins equal or greater to its morale value, you're still going to run away, but I mean, even for shirkers, that's 4 pins. That is more pins than I would normally now put on a unit. So I don't predict that units are going to be pinned out much in the game anymore, simply because they're going to rally. They're going to rally, and then they're going to remove all the pins, right? For some people, I know a couple of people who like make the morale test and then roll a 1. They're going to be really happy that all the pins will go away now. And but for me, it's not a big deal. It just means that I have a cap now on how many pins I want to put on units. There's one more thing here. On a similar theme, regardless of how many pin markers a unit has, how many bonus or penalties apply, a unit cannot have a morale value of more than 11. I am guessing that is the Finnish units that can still go above 10. Maybe there are other special rules, other special units that can have a morale value that's above, and they cannot go less than 2. I don't see. You could potentially have a unit that has so many pins on it that it has 1 in morale, but now you still, if you roll a double 1, you're still good, right? Because you cannot have lower than 2. Right. Officers. This is new, and this is intriguing in many respects. Now, for me, right, so the rule here is that a platoon commander, a second lieutenant or a first lieutenant, gives a +2 to morale and has 2 extra orders with a 6-inch range. So it's a short range, but it's a lot of extra bonuses you have here. If you have a company commander, captain or major, then it's +4 morale and 4 extra orders. Now, the extra orders, I am guessing that's sort of a Snap 2 thing. That they're just naming it something else, because it sort of looks like Snap 2. For me now, there is no reason in the world I can think of where you wouldn't take the cheapest possible lieutenant you could get for those points, right? There's no reason to take a first lieutenant because he hasn't got any bonus compared to a second lieutenant. Unless something else happens with the lieutenant rule. We don't know what. But, you could do all sorts of weird stuff and make these differentiate on some other parameter than the morale bonus. But right now, as is, if we're running lieutenants, I would definitely every single time pick an inexperienced second lieutenant because I still get a +2 morale bonus. And I can still do Snap 2 with 2 extra units. Yeah. And they write here that it's gone another days of differentiating. Yeah, I can see. This is simplified, yes. Is it better? Maybe. I am hoping that something else will differentiate between these different kinds of officers and make company commanders, captain majors, and first lieutenants worth taking, because I'm not seeing it right now. Right now, I'm planning to run all inexperienced lieutenants. But there's something interesting more. Now it's down here. In addition, they now have to pay for the weapons. So officers don't get the free SMG anymore. That was a thing in the olden days, right? You took an officer and then you gave him a couple of buddies and they all got SMGs or assault rifles if they were Germans, and then you just ran them up shooting away, right? That doesn't happen anymore. The pin machine officer team is gone because you now have to pay for every single weapon you take. So I am predicting we will see a lot more pistol armed officers because they are cheap. And this is a nice little free assault rifles for all German officer teams is gone. This is part of a wider philosophy of no free units. That is a major mic drop that just happened here from Marcus Wine of Warlord Games. No free units. The free units are gone, ladies and gentlemen. Your artillery observers, your free French howitzers, your Soviet manpower unit, all of it gone. It's away. We're going to see other, and that means not only do the free units go away, and we sort of had, at least on this channel, predicted that would happen because there's no slot for them in the new force organization chart. But not only does it mean that the free units go away. It also means one thing else. We're going to see new national special rules. You heard it here first, people. I'm calling it right now. The national special rules are not going to be the same in version 3. Because a lot of nations have free units as part of what they get. That is not going to happen anymore. We're going to see something new. I like it. That means everyone has to rethink all their army plans. Finally, we come to vehicles and morale, and they have this whole bit about going down, how you can't go down with a vehicle, but you can go down, sort of, if it's the result of a damage or something else. Perfectly fine. That was always weird, even in version 2. And a lot of people just ignored it. And, you know, I don't want to move this tank. I'm going down, right? People actually accepted that at all tournaments I've been to ever. I know you can't go down with a tank, but, you know, it doesn't matter. It means that you're not moving. You're not doing anything. It's just you put down the dice. But there's a couple of important changes, right? So, a vehicle that fails a morale test has to back up. That's the same as version 2. It has to be straight back, no pivot allowed. Exactly the same as version 2. But it only does this if there's an visible enemy to the front. Interesting. So it's not moving away from the closest visible enemy, is moving away from an enemy to its front arc. Look here. If there are no visible enemies to its front arc, then the vehicle goes down where it is. So you're not turning the vehicle and moving away from the closest enemy, you're just backing up. Now, if a vehicle is unable to comply because models or impassable terrain are in its way, it can and must indeed maneuver to try and reverse going around the intervening terrain or models, shortest available route. And then reversing vehicles, if they reach the edge of a table, then it retreats off the battlefield and is treated as destroyed. Again, this is an interesting one. This is the first time we've seen this being applied, because there's been a lot of you reach the edge and then you just stop, right? But this one says that if you reach the edge, touch the edge, then you are gone. Now, I wonder if that's the same for infantry that potentially runs backwards for, like, we had that with the foobar, right? Your infantry could run back. Can they run off the table? That might be a thing. If the rules are unified and everything is sort of in line, that might actually be a thing that happens. Interesting. So, yeah. What will this change? Not a lot for me. The officers are going to change a bit. What we do with the officers is going to change, like how we build our officer teams. And it's absolutely going to change how I use vehicles. My vehicles are going to try and stay more than the required backing distance from my own board edge, just to make sure that I don't accidentally fail a morale test and run my tank, my expensive tank, off the board. I'm going to push a little further in with vehicles. That's going to be a thing. But that's just minor details. I like that they're keeping the what was that? What do they call it? Troop quality, right? I like that they're keeping that. And a lot of interesting little side notes here coming up. So, right, that was it. Go and check out Johnny's video on this release as well. I will see you in the next one. Hopefully at some point also in a short video with Johnny as well. Cheers.